Well, Larry Goldberg on this Good News Friday, after 3 days in a row of up market for Tesla, what are you going to do? I will tell you that what I'm seeing on X is there's only 2 things people care about in Tesla world right now. It really comes down to just 2, and that is FSD and the progress that we will make over the next months until we get to Robotaxi, and what's happening with the stock. So as a person who is super familiar with FSD, who is driving it, I assume you're still once in a while getting in your car with the with FSD, as opposed to always your Cybertruck.
Well, I had to go to the city today, which was a 20-mile drive. And, it was like, do I, don't I, do I, don't I, do. And in the end, I took the Cybertruck.
Oh, see, okay.
The Cybertruck is just such a magnificent vehicle that is, despite the fact we don't have FSD in it, and despite the fact that I love FSD, it's, I don't know, it's the new, I was away 3 months after it was delivered.
Right.
I'm just kind of catching up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
anyway, hopefully we'll have FSD for the Cybertruck soon, because we have seen pictures of it actually being tested.
Tested, yes. Down at Chuck Cook's place.
Yeah, that's right. Chuck has photographed it, doing the unprotected left turn and all of the tests around Chuck Cook's place. So, I mean, I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited to get it, but, on a day-to-day basis. So what I do, though, is I take FSD out on a daily basis.
Oh, okay.
East, half hour to an hour to an hour and a half drive. And, I must say, in previous versions, except for version 3, before version 3, what happens is that the first drive always seems to go so well. And then subsequent drives, develops all these quirks and whatever. But I must say the consistency of ever since we got to 12, the consistency has been remarkable. And the consistency of 12.5 is truly remarkable.
Right.
It is truly highly consistent.
So what would you say, over the last week since we last talked about it, how many safety interventions have you had to make?
I haven't had a safety intervention yet.
No safety interventions.
No, I haven't had a safety intervention. The only intervention, well, I should modify that. There is a consistent intervention that while it has not presented a safety intervention yet, is an intervention which would be a safety intervention. I'll explain. We have a pedestrian crossing across a country road. It was a country road. It's no longer a country road. It's so busy. Our city has grown so dramatically.
Yeah.
We're one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. And this country road has become a major connector between a very rapidly growing area of Durham and a very rapidly growing area of Cary, both of which areas were very were out in the country, and now they're hotspots. And so they connect through this, what was a country road. In fact, it's got a chapel in its name, these chapels all over the South would join each other by this chapel road and that chapel road and anyway. There is a trail, a very famous trail in Durham that is called the Tobacco Trail. It's the old railroad, the Tobacco Railroad, that connected many of the major tobacco warehouses to Durham, North Carolina, which was, Bull Durham City. It was the big tobacco center. And they tore up this railroad, and made a walking trail of it. And it crosses this country road. And so there's a pedestrian crossing there, which, is a pedestrian crossing in the middle of what is now a highly trafficked road. And so they have these special pedestrian signs and lights You're
Mhm.
supposed to slow down for it, and of course stop if there's a pedestrian crossing the road on the trail. So the FSD does not recognize this yellow slowdown sign, which is unique to the area,
Mm,
and it doesn't recognize the yield sign on
mm,
this pedestrian crossing,
mm.
which is also a unique color and a unique shape. Well, not a unique shape, but a unique color for the area. And so that is one consistent error that it shows, which truly is a safety error, because I have to intervene.
Right.
I can't allow the car to fly through
Fly
that
through that.
area at
Yeah.
45 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, long explanation,
Right.
unnecessary, but it kind of highlights some of the, these corner cases that are going to have to be resolved either through, the system actually generating that environment, or somebody actually driving through it and, training the system.
Right, right. And I think you and I talked about this maybe a month ago or so, is the idea that Tesla should be able to see these circumstances based on these interventions, and maybe even contact cities or other road authorities and say, hey, look,
Yeah.
you're using orange there. You should be using yellow, and this type of thing. Yeah.
So I've reported it as frequently as I come across it. I try and repeat the intervention again and again. I'm hoping many other Tesla drivers do, although a lot of people shoot through that. I have to say, it's an error that FSD makes, but it's the same error that almost every other driver that I know goes through that area. So, it may well be that, it's just one of those things that, people just don't really pay attention to, but
Yeah.
FSD should.
So,
Anyway.
all right. So then with that kind of report, you're doing this every day and you're getting zero basically, except for that safety interventions. It becomes back to that same question again. Yeah, we know there's edge cases out there. Yeah, we know that it's not perfect. We've seen people on YouTube videos showing us, imperfections in certain circumstances. But it seems as if it is virtually, except for the completing the U-turns and the reverse and parking, etc. Other than that, the completion of the features, like there's not a lot yet to do.
Yeah, feature completion is a lot simpler than zero intervention drives.
Yeah.
Those zero intervention drives, that's the gold standard.
Right.
Zero intervention drives.
Right.
I think the feature complete is very close. I would say that very early in 2025, if not before, we could end up with feature complete. But feature complete, does not make it FSD. It makes it, at best, a driver assist product.
Right.
The best driver assist product on the market by far. Now the question, how do we get to the number of interventions that, the market would really accept, or that would be acceptable?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how long will that take? And, I posited earlier this year, a year and a half or so. I still think we have a year to go. I think we have that long to go. Yeah, because we're not getting the speed of release that Elon
You were thinking
was thinking. Yeah, and I think that one of the problems is just the capacity to generate the cases, and then also to train,
right.
and also to change the format for the different processes and the different cars out there, like Cybertruck, the version, the hardware 3, hardware 4, AI 5. AI 5 is still not a problem, not an issue. But so the question is, do we have to wait for the for the compute center in Austin to be complete for that capacity to increase the rate of change? I don't know. But until we reach that rate of change, I don't see us getting to feature complete in under a year.
Okay. To feature complete even.
I'm sorry.
To
No,
level 4,
take that.
level 5. Yeah. Right.
No, to get to, to get to Robotaxi or
Okay.
FSD, full FSD. But feature complete, I can see us being feature complete first quarter of next year.
Okay. All right. So let me just throw it back to you again, Larry. We talked about this Monday night and you clapped back, but I'm gonna just throw it out there again. Your theory, my theory was, why wouldn't we limit in some way the places where robotaxis could go?
Yeah, I heard that, and I'll just jump in right away. I don't think this is geographic at all.
No, I didn't mean geographic. I meant specific use case. So in other words, a dirty country road, with no signage, or no curb, nothing that helps the car drive itself. I mean, when you go to Hawaii and you're driving the backside of Maui, you can't take your rental car back over on that one section back there. It's on the map, it says no rental cars. So it's not such a strange thing to say, okay, can't do this, can't go into a shopping center parking, can't go into a parking structure, so it can't go into certain circumstances. You're going to have curb service only. And then the part that you clap back the hardest on, I think it was you, maybe it was somebody else, was the idea that probably you're going to want this, even if it's perfect, is going to be this individual who is sitting in not individual, but many individuals sitting in front of cameras where the car gives a notification. As soon as the car sees that there's a problem ahead, it pops the screen on. The person's sitting there, they're an expert at taking over, and they take over. And if you have that, which I know Waymo has, it's part of what they're doing now. All the companies in China apparently have this. That might allow us to be on the road and starting to test this. If you're thinking it's a year away, maybe it's only a quarter away if we do those two things.
I think the driver assist is absolutely necessary part of this program, because you're going to get the car stuck in a place that they can't get out of. That's going to happen. Yeah. I haven't heard anything from Tesla that indicates to me that they're working very hard at getting this done, or that they're even experimenting with it. We haven't even heard of anybody helping, but it seems to me an absolutely necessary requirement. I don't think that changes the speed of introduction. I think that's just, an absolute necessity of this program. If they're going to run a robotaxi service, they're going to have to need this, period. As far as limiting, some areas, I think that's fair enough. I mean, Uber limits places where drivers can go.
Right.
Probably the limitation we'd place upon robotaxi would be larger, would be greater. But, when you mentioned don't go into parking lots, actually, I found that version 12.5 does quite well in parking lots. I don't think parking lots are going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm on 12.3.6, and it does fine in parking lots, except the final stage. It does not know how to park yet.
Yes, I'm sure that it will know how to park very shortly, and that won't be a problem.
Right.
But actually navigating parking lots, it doesn't have a problem.
Right. That does seem to be okay in mine as well. I've done Costco.
Yeah. I mean, the point I wanted to make was, we thought, but parking lots were going to be a huge problem. Yeah. Not long ago, we were very worried about parking lots. So yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
actually, the biggest problem I found is knowing how to go through the drive-through in drive-through restaurants.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it seems that they should be able to train that.
I think so. I think so. Yes. All right. All right. So, all right. So you're a year away, and I'm saying maybe first quarter, maybe end first quarter. So we're sitting somewhere in the 6 month area. All right. So we've got 10-10 coming up. There's a growing, I would say, almost a consensus out there now that we're going back to 265 between now. I don't know if I started it, but I do know that, and it's not just on my channel. I'm seeing it coming in from other directions, that this high of 265 that we hit on July 9th was probably because of FOMO going into 8-8. And now we're going into 10-10. So we're probably headed back to around 265 between now and 10-10. Does that make sense to you?
No short-term prediction makes any sense to me at all. We could hit 265, we could hit 165. Somewhere between.
Somewhere between. And of course, if they feature complete before 10-10, then it might be 300 before.
I think macro is controlling.
Yeah.
It's controlling the envelope within which we operate. And then sentiment, has something to do. And 265 was, not just sentiment, but it's also, closing out these tremendous amount of short activity that started. Alexandra Mertz does the short analysis, and we've seen, all these people scurrying out of their shorts. Shorting Tesla became very popular just a few months ago, all of a sudden again.
Yeah.
And people have been burned very badly again. Now, the question is, do we get to 265 without a bunch of shorts trying to get the hell out of there? I don't know. I mean, 265 would be very nice. But, my sense is that these conference days very seldom help Tesla.
Well, yeah.
So
I know you famously, and not without reason, buy before and sell, or I'm sorry, buy up to and then sell immediately before, because typically there's a big down movement. Now, I can't remember though, on reveals, is that as consistent on reveals as it is on things like earnings and battery days and things like that?
No, reveals have been very inconsistent because
Okay.
we've had some very good reveals and some very poor reveals. So you have a point, and the question is, how much of a reveal is this, and how much of a, sales effort is it? I mean, you have to think about the sales events such as Battery Day, Autonomy Day, Investor Day. They were big busts. And Investor Day was very, 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 I thought it was one of the best days
Yeah.
that Tesla's ever had. But, I mean, here we are, looking at FSD. There's no doubt that FSD has a lot to do with the comeback of the stock price in general. So the reveal of a Robotaxi, and I'm hoping of two additional vehicles to fill out the range,
Mhm.
could have incredibly positive impact, but based on track record, I'm skeptical.
So Truist came out the other day and they added themselves to the list of those who are now breaking the company down by product group.
Yeah.
And the stock went up quite nicely based on Truist's evaluation. Is that so? I claimed on Wednesday night with Jeff that I've been saying this, I think, since the mission, since we wrote the mission, that the company is multiple companies, that probably it would do better if it was broken up. I mean, those individual pieces would probably be worth more if broken up. But that it's fair not only to see it as these pieces, but also to see that there are, in fact, people that are betting the optionality of the products that are coming downstream. And that Truist also agreed with, and Baird and others have also agreed with. So is that how you see the company?
I absolutely do. I saw it long before Baird and Truist even discussed it. I think you and I discussed this, very early this year. There's so little doubt now that the stock price is not based upon the earnings of the car company, but it's based upon the optionality, the earnings of the potential earnings of the energy company, the optionality of FSD, the optionality of Robotaxi, the potential of Optimus, and the potential of AI in general.
Right.
And so we've gone from that 135, 165 area where we were being analyzed as a car company with very negative outlook, to now we're looking at a car company with pretty positive outlook based upon the China record, and based upon the optionality of all the other pieces that I've talked about.
Right.
It would be folly to see Tesla any other way, and I know that Tesla Q tend to look at it in other ways. I mean, everybody has got a different reason that Tesla is going to fail. Tesla as a whole company is going to fail. But these people are becoming rarer and rarer, and they will soon, be, the cavemen of the modern era, because there's no doubt that, they're not going to see Tesla driven into the ground. They're not going to see Tesla go bankrupt. They're not going to see, a general malaise within Tesla. But the question is, how well do each of these optional pieces do? And, the optionality of the humanoid bot is just so huge that it kind of swamps the rest of all that long speech when you think about that. So there you are. I mean, how to put a value on Tesla, and how to say, on this date it's going to be 165. I mean, or 265, sorry. It's just, to me, it's crazy. To me, it's crazy. Tesla is going to be well beyond its all-time high in fairly due course.
Yeah, in fairly due course.
I mean, that's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
That's my belief anyway.
Yes. So speaking of AI, Grok 2 is out. So you're running all over town doing an hour drive a day. You've got your Cybertruck taking up your time. Did you have any time left over to play with Grok?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I'm.
I'll bet you have. I bet you have.
Well, I'm an avid user of ChatGPT. I do use it for a lot of my investment and a lot of my analysis. I use it I used to do analysis of video, of YouTube videos and X videos. But I have found Grok 2 Mini to be every bit as powerful as GPT Mini, and every bit as useful, and quite up to date, although it does glitch sometimes, as they all do.
Yeah.
I mean, it insists that our current president is Donald Trump.
Oh, it does. Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you can go on it right now and ask who the current president is. It claims it's President Trump.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so I haven't used it a ton. I have found a couple of things I really like. I do like the humor. A little bit, it's kind of the same humor all the time, kind of the same.
I don't use the humor.
You don't use the humor.
I switch it to, I don't. I'm very I'm very short-tempered with that kind of
I
stuff.
love that it's 100% up to date. This is what really
Well,
separates it.
almost 100%, maybe 99% up to
Okay,
date.
okay, but I mean, compared to chat,
Oh, there's no comparison, but you
you
know,
can even
ChatGPT.
ask it. You can even ask it to do today. Ask it for what happened today, or
Yeah.
please check Twitter for this or whatever. I mean, X.
Yeah, but you can't ask who's the current
Current
president.
president. The other thing is that it will apparently, I've only tried it once, which was I wanted to for the video I did earlier today on Kamala Commie. I wanted to show a picture of Kamala Harris as a communist or in some kind of a communist setting. And man, it put that up right away. It does not seem to be at all concerned about putting up famous people's faces.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, that's a neat trick, but it's not really, you know, intrinsic to the model itself. It's a third-party product currently, and they are apparently working on a product. Yeah. What's impressive is its math capability. It's probably the best math. Maybe it is the best math
Wow.
product out there right now. So, you know, I was using it to build some decision models, and it built significantly better decision models than ChatGPT.
Man, that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So then the next step, of course, is to integrate it with the car. And that will be that to me. I keep saying that might pop the stock almost as much as FSD complete because it will be something that sells the car. I still believe that. I believe that people will buy it just because it'll have a real conversation with you.
Well, I would just warn you, I think you're right, but I would modify that to say that it would be a very simple thing to integrate any one of the 20 or so LLMs that are out there, large language models that are out there, into anybody's car.
Mhm.
Now, some of the cars don't have very elegant implementations of
Right.
compute power, but it is relatively simple to do that integration. The other thing I would also say is that we have to be a little cautious about being so ambitious for it, because you know the compute power that we require for FSD now is pretty significant. So to add the GPT, to add a large language model processing full time while you're writing, using FSD may be an issue.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, it's got to. I mean, it's like
Ultimately, it's absolutely going to. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I hear you.
There are
I hear you.
there may be some challenges.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. There was more here on my list. Starship. So what the heck? Elon says Starship is ready to go, and we're waiting.
Well, you know, we're a little bit in the dark here because we were going to attend an FAA meeting. In fact, I had it on my calendar, took it off. I think it was this week. There was going to be an FAA meeting to discuss the request by SpaceX to have many more flights, 25 or 50, 25 flights a year, and that was going to be a major meeting, and it was just extending the current license. And then somebody came forward and said, well, the water that they've been spreading, the runoff of the water that they've been spreading has far more arsenic in it than they said, and they need to stop. So the FAA said, whoa, maybe there's a problem here. They canceled the public meetings, all the public meetings. And now they're in a stew. Do they permit the next flight, or do they stop everything while they do this investigation? Now, I have to say, these environmental groups and their gripes are just incredible. That, you know, I'm as much an environmentalist than the next environmentalist, but you know, their complaint before was a couple of birds' nest eggs were found broken. Turns out those are the nest eggs that are broken because the
birds
birds
got
have already
bored.
flown away. No, yeah, the birds have flown for the winter. You know, I mean, the season's done. At least that's what I understood. So, you know, it's absolutely standard to what's happening in general in this country.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there has to be this regulatory
Capture.
it's regularly captured, but the public is as bad as the government
Okay,
people,
yeah.
because what happens is that these interest groups, they pressure the government.
Right.
FAA didn't do this,
Right.
but
Right.
you know, whether it was, you know, some government agency like wildlife or, you know, or a conservation group, whatever it was, they created enough noise, created this excitement. SpaceX said, look, we gave you the cyanide values. They're not what these guys say. They're these values, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, now it starts now. Who knows what's going to happen? Nobody knows. So I'm supposed to be in a starbase early in August, you know,
Okay.
based upon the
Expectations.
yeah, based upon expectations. But now everything's
So it was kind of odd to me because I did read that or at least the piece of that, not the detail that you just gave, but that was the problem. And I thought to myself, my goodness, with what they've been able to do with water treatment in Berlin at Tesla, you would think that knowledge could be piped over to SpaceX to be.
well, they don't need any additional information. They went letter and book to explain
I see.
the water. You know, they said, and it is really upsetting, and I don't want to get too carried away here on the program, but it is upsetting because it's not necessarily fact-based.
Yeah.
You know, but they can argue it in such a way that it does ring a lot of bells, and then, you know, everybody gets panicked. And, you know, given that Joe Biden said that we should be looking into Elon Musk, the federal agencies are making sure that they don't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah,
and any of Elon's companies are involved.
Oh my goodness. All right. So let's talk about the economy for a minute, because you and I know it's already in recession, but the stock market doesn't seem to get it. And they took one data point this week, which was the CPI. Well, the PPI really, because the CPI was okay, but the PPI, they took the PPI data, and the fact that the rest of the data all week was not great seems to have no impact on the market at all, including this morning. We had housing. The housing starts dropped off a cliff. Permits down 1%, or no, I'm sorry, was it 0.1% month over month? So permits are down. Housing starts were horrible, like down 8% or something. And then we had consumer sentiment come in, uptick a little bit. One of the headlines said consumer sentiment up. And I'm like, no, that's not the takeaway.
We're in the toilet.
It's in the toilet. It's been in the
Consumer
toilet.
sentiment is in the toilet. Look, you know, the market wants to go up. And it'll look for any excuse to go up. And you know why it wants to go up?
Why is
because
that?
it's convinced that the news now is bad enough for, you know, the Fed to act.
Right.
And so that's all they're looking at. Now, the truth is that there are some stocks that are just going to do well in a recession,
Right,
including the tech stocks.
right.
And they're the ones that are up.
Yeah.
And that's who we're celebrating.
Right.
You know, I don't study the rest of the, you know, the S&P. I don't study the rest of the certainly not the Dow. And as for the rest of the NASDAQ, that for the most part, them too. So I would bet that they're not up that much, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the people who are in recession.
Yeah.
You know, the Magnificent Seven are not in recession, other than Tesla's motor sector. The motor sector is in recession. There's no doubt about it. If we look at the inventory on the ground, it's
Yes.
through the roof.
Yes.
And so the consumer's down, the consumer's in recession. The only thing that is not in recession is the government employees, sorry, the top tech companies, government employees, and
Health. Health.
healthcare. Thank you.
Yes, healthcare.
So
And maybe travel and leisure, but
I think they get falling off a cliff. I think that
like
they're done. I think they're done.
Yeah.
I think they've had their moment.
Yeah, it appears so. Yeah. So okay, so we are in complete alignment on that particular set of data.
Yeah, I had Jeff yesterday. Jeff challenged me, or I challenged Jeff. Jeff was saying, "Yeah, we're recovering. Everything's good. Stock went up because of, it's people see that everything's great." I said, "Jeff, things are not great. The economy is growing at 2% and government's growing at 7% of GDP.
Right.
It's not growing at 7%. It's growing at 7% of GDP, and GDP is growing 2%. Now, how is that not a recession?"
Yeah, that's good. I like that. That might be the thumbnail. I hadn't seen that. That's good. I like that.
You can have my thumb.
Dow Jones up 96 today. It looked like it wasn't going to get off. But it finally made it out. NASDAQ up 37, S&P up 11. Tesla, which was up strongly in the morning, but retreated and then back up and kind of
on low volume.
On low volume and
relatively low volume for Tesla.
Yeah, and the Magnificent Seven all over the place. Kathy Woods actually almost all up at the end of the day. But that might have been partially, then the bond market has been the most confusing to me of all, Larry. So the bonds, the bond market yesterday goes up. And I'm like a lot, like 12 basis points. But it peeled off a bunch of that today, back down to 3.883, down 4.3 basis points. So,
but look at gold. Look at gold.
Oh, I know, gold all-time highs.
I mean, gold is just all-time highs. And why would gold be up?
China, both the government and the consumer in China buying gold. South Korea, both the government and the consumers in South Korea buying gold. Americans buying gold, and also some other sovereign wealth funds are buying gold. Besides those two. So that's, according to my information, that's why the price of gold is up.
As long as the American government prints more money than the GDP is growing,
yes,
gold will grow.
Okay, yeah.
Because everybody looks at that number and says, "Oh my God, the dollar's going into the toilet.
Right.
We better get gold."
Yeah.
And not, by the way, Bitcoin, gold.
Oh, I didn't see the final on gold. Up 54.
Thank you.
2,546.
Yeah.
So, I knew it was like 25 and change. It was all-time high this morning.
All time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, way up. Holy mackerel. And silver ended up 2.35 also percent at 29, back shooting towards 30. Holy cow. And oil going the other way.
Yeah, so that's recessive and flight to safety.
And natural gas, if anybody likes something that they want to speculate on and try to guess which way it's going to go every day, natural gas has been going up 3%, down 4%, up 2%, down 3%. I mean, day trade. It's been crazy. I don't know what
natural gas will kill any day trader. Any day trader. However bright they are, it'll kill them.
So oil was down $1.56 in Texas and down $1.46 in Brent. But Brent is back under 80. That's good for the economy, but as you point out, it's certainly recession. It's certainly indicating recession. If we go over to copper, even for the day, sitting at 41.50, which is not bad, not good. It's
Actually good. Yeah.
kind of in the middle. The dollar down again against the yen, so that's reversed and unchanged against the euro. And Bitcoin, there's another one you could have a little volatility fun with. Up 2,000 today, back up to 59,124.
Wow.
Yeah, how much fun. Let's see, this would be the real pre-market. No, it can't be, it's Friday. There is no pre-market. Never mind. Well, Larry, I don't know.
But if you're an investor in gold, it was a good news Friday.
Boy, I'm telling you.
If you're an investor in Nvidia and Tesla, it was a great week Friday.
Yeah, absolutely true. Well, we'll see if we can do it again next week. There is hardly any news next week, except
Nvidia earnings.
Oh, NVIDIA earnings. That's right. I haven't looked at the earnings list yet.
Nvidia is driving the tech market right now.
Right.
Nvidia earnings are very important, and
that'll be a big deal. Yeah.
It's going to be a big deal. And, AJ, who I follow now very carefully, tells us that it's going to be a great day for Nvidia.
NVIDIA. Yeah.
I think the one black cloud on the horizon is dark cloud on the horizon is, that the Blackwell processor is going to be 3 months late.
Oh, yeah.
And so that may have an impact. AJ thinks that it will be a negligible impact. He thinks they will provide very good, a very good story around that. And so with that one quirk, he thinks it's going to be a very good day. And so if it is, then this market could continue. If it isn't, this market goes into the toilet.
Well, Larry, some other day you and I will have to talk, because I know that I don't want your or my blood pressure to go up too much, but the beginning of the Kamala Harris unfolding her plans for the country, her economic plans for the country. Many folks were, I mean, on X at least, the Democrats were applauding these wonderful ideas, but they seem to come right out of Mark's handbook, or maybe out of her dad's book. I'm not sure.
Well, all socialist type, all liberal, truly left-wing liberal and the left of the party all have this trend towards socialism and ultimately communism. We're so far removed from all of communism that people don't understand the horror of it. And the other thing is that, we have these extremely left-wing people that are very, very influential in the Democratic Party, in power, or in positions of responsibility in the Congress. So, there's a lot of other stuff. So we'll have to see whether it carries the day.
Okay, with that very brief analysis, which I think is a perfect conclusion, Larry, thanks as always for coming in for Good News Friday. If nothing interrupts during the weekend, we'll see you again on Monday. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.